Go into the world and tell every man that you meet, there is a man on the cross.
A Catholic Take. What you need to know right now. A bold synthesis of inspiration and information. Keeping you up to date on the news and issues from a courageous Catholic perspective.
A Catholic Take with Joe McLean starts now.
Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to A Catholic Take, a bold synthesis of information and inspiration. I'm your host, Joe McLean. So good to be on with you. Praise be to God. And the Little Sisters of the Poor are back in the news. You remember when they won their Supreme Court case? It was like a 7-2 decision. So not even close. They clearly won. And yet they're back because the U.S. District Court said, no. You must absolutely have to pay for contraceptives. Let that sink in. The vitriol nature of it all. They fought the Obama administration and they won, and now they have to fight yet again. We're going to be covering this story for you with Brent Haynes at 14 past the hour. That's coming up this hour. Also on the team is Timothy Flanders of OnePeterFive fame. He's also a part of the Mary Queen of the Home Academy, which offers courses for high school-aged homeschoolers. Could be a great way for the homeschooling family to, supplement your curriculum through literature, apologetics, science, and more. And we're going to have Timothy Flanders on the team at 30 past the hour live to talk about that. And they've got a science program that's going to be launching here in a couple of weeks. So we'll be getting into that with him as well. It's going to be a great show. Plus, this is the last show for the week that's going to be live. Tomorrow, it's a holy day of obligation. It's the Feast of the Assumption. So we will not be in studio live, but we will have something for you nonetheless if you tune in. Praise be to God. So do share us with a friend and let's get started. By the way, if you are looking for a real estate agent to either buy or sell a home, would you consider realestateforlife.org? If you tell them the Station of the Cross sent you, we get a wee bit commission out of that deal. It supports us, what we do here in Catholic media, and it gives you a great agent, so it could be a win for everybody involved. Realestateforlife.org is a sponsor of the Station of the Cross Catholic Media Network. Make sure to tell them we sent you. Let's pray. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen. Remember, O most gracious Virgin Mary, that never was it known that anyone who fled to thy protection, implored thy help, or sought thine intercession was left unaided. Inspired by this confidence, I fly unto thee, O Virgin of Virgins, my Mother. To thee do I come, before thee I stand, sinful and sorrowful. O Mother of the Word incarnate, despise not my petitions, but in thy mercy hear and answer me. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. And now your saint of the day.
Saint Maximilian Kolbe, pray for us. Raymond Kolbe was born in the year of our Lord 1894 to a poor, deeply pious Polish family. After a vision of Our Lady that foretold his martyrdom, Raymond entered the Franciscans, taking the name Maximilian. He entered seminary in Rome, where he founded the Militia of the Immaculata against communism and Freemasonry. Before his ordination, he was nearly killed by tuberculosis and suffered poor health the rest of his life. Returning to a newly independent Poland, Father Maximilian began producing Catholic publications. He and 4 brothers traveled to Japan in 1930, despite speaking no Japanese, and began a monastery in Nagasaki that survived the atomic bomb and still operates today. Back in Poland, Father Maximilian began a Catholic radio station. After the Nazi invasion, Father Maximilian was arrested for his work, which was deemed subversive, and he was eventually transferred to Auschwitz. When a prisoner with a wife and young children was selected for a retributive execution, Father Maximilian volunteered to take his place. Already near death from starvation and abuse, he was killed by lethal injection on this day in the year of our Lord, 1941. He is considered a patron of Catholic media, and especially Catholic radio. For more about this day and others in the Church's calendar, visit thestationofthecross.com/saintsandseasons. Saint Maximilian Kolbe, pray for us.
And now your headline news. The Associated Press reports a U.S. briefly deploys 2 warships to the South China Sea. The United States deployed 2 warships, the USS Higgins and the USS Cincinnati, near the disputed Scarborough Shoal in the South China Sea, following a collision between Chinese Navy and Coast Guard ships attempting to block a Philippine vessel. The U.S. Navy conducted a freedom of navigation operation to challenge China's territorial claims, which have been ruled invalid by a 2016 international tribunal, escalating tensions in the region. And the Hill reports Air Canada to begin canceling flights ahead of possible strike. Air Canada plans to start canceling flights as early as Friday due to a potential strike by its 10,000 flight attendants who rejected a tentative labor agreement. The airline is preparing for a possible work stoppage by Monday if no new deal is reached, impacting its operations and passengers. And Catholic Vote reports Trump and Putin meeting on Assumption. Bishop James Connolly of Lincoln, Nebraska, is urging the faithful to ask for Mary's intercession for peace and justice in Ukraine and around the world ahead of Friday's planned summit between President Donald Trump and Russian leader Vladimir Putin in Alaska. Bishop Connolly pointed out that the meeting will take place on the solemnity of the Assumption of Our Lady. Let's ask for her intercession. Those are your headline news. The gospel today comes to us from Matthew chapter 18, verses 21 through the end of the chapter, and the first verse in chapter 19. Then came Peter unto him and said, Lord, how often shall my brother offend against me, and I forgive him? Till 7 times? And Jesus saith to him, I say not to thee till 7 times, but till 70 times 7 times. Therefore is the kingdom of heaven likened to a king, who would take an account of his servants. And when he had begun to take account, one was brought to him that owed him 10,000 talents. And as he had not wherewith to pay it, his Lord commanded that he should be sold, and his wife, and his children, and all that he had in payment to be made. That servant, falling down, besought him, saying, Have patience with me, and I will pay thee all. And the Lord of that servant, being moved with pity, let him go, and forgave him the debt. But when that servant was gone out, he found one of his fellow servants that owed him 100 pence. And laying hold of him, he throttled him, saying, Pay what thou owest. And his fellow servant, falling down, besought him, saying, Have patience with me, and I will pay thee all. And he would not, but went and cast him into prison, till he paid the debt. Now his fellow servants, seeing what was done, were very much grieved, and they came and told their Lord all that was done. Then his Lord called him, and said to him, Thou wicked servant, I forgave thee all the debt, because thou besought me. Should not thou have had compassion also on thy fellow servant, even as I had compassion upon thee? And his Lord, being very angry, delivered him to the torturers, until he paid all the debt. So also shall my heavenly Father do to you, if you forgive not every one of his brother from your hearts. And it came to pass, when Jesus had ended these words, he departed from Galilee, and came into the coasts of Judea, beyond the Jordan. The Gospel of the Lord. Laus tibi Christi. Father Haydock would say St. Peter knew the Jews to be much given to revenge. He therefore thought it a great proof of superior virtue to be able to forgive 7 times. It was for this reason he proposed this question to our Lord, who, to show how much he esteemed charity, immediately answered not only 7 times, but 70 times 7 times. He does not mean to say that this number must be the bounds of our forgiving. We must forgive to the end and never take revenge, however often our brother offend against us. There must be no end of forgiving poor culprits that sincerely repent, either in the sacrament of penance or one man another his offenses. To be recommended this great virtue more forcefully, he subjoins the parable of the king taking his accounts, and from the great severity there exercised, he intimates how rigid will his heavenly Father be to those who forgive not their enemies. Till 70 times 7, i.e. 490 times, but it is put by way of an unlimited number, to signify we must pardon private injuries, though even so often done to us. When our brother sins against us, we must grieve for his sake over the evil he has committed, but for ourselves we ought greatly to rejoice, because we are thereby made like our heavenly Father, who bids the sun to shine upon the good and the bad. But if the thought of having to imitate God alarm us, though it should not seem difficult to a true lover of God, let us place before our eyes the examples of his favorite servants. Like, for instance, St. Max Kolbe, who loved his enemies so very much that even after the Nazis bombed his monastery there in 1939, and then infiltrated it with Nazi SS troops and all the like, he would still try to plant miraculous medals upon them. He did all he could, even in the concentration camp, going rack to rack to rack every single night, hearing confessions and giving away his very little loaf of bread that he was given to eat that day. Even forgiving those that would starve him to death and then inject him with that poison to kill and take his life. He forgave all, every time, all the way to the end. Let us be like St. Max Kolbe. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Did you know you can help evangelize simply by using your cell phone? The Station of the Cross is partnering with iCatholic Mobile, America's only Catholic mobile phone company. When you join iCatholic Mobile, a portion of every dollar will support our programming. Plus, you'll enjoy great service with iCatholic Unlimited 5G data, text, and talk. With iCatholic Mobile, you can stay connected with family and friends while also spreading the truth of Jesus Christ with clarity and charity. Join today at iCatholicMobile.com.
It looks like the Little Sisters of the Poor are back in the news. What? You remember when they won their Supreme Court case? It was like not even a close decision, 7-2. What in the world is happening? Brent Haynes, friend of the show, an attorney, Catholic freedom fighter, and more, is on the team. Praise be to God. Good morning to you, Brent. What is going on with the Little Sisters of the Poor?
Good morning, Joe. Good morning, everyone. Well, Joe, the Little Sisters of the Poor, they're back in the news because they are back in court. And to be accurate, they've never really been out of court, even though they have essentially won every time they've gone all the way to the Supreme Court. And people will probably remember this all started with the Affordable Care Act, popularly known as Obamacare. That legislation gave the federal bureaucracies, the secretaries of the departments, Health and Human Services, other government agencies, the ability to mandate, to develop certain regulations. And the Obama administration, of course, developed regulations to implement the act that mandated contraceptive health care, right? That's the way they put it, paying for contraceptives. And they weren't going to put anything that explicit in Obamacare. Remember, it passed very narrowly after an extremely, extremely bitter fight. They weren't going to mandate abortion. They couldn't have gotten away with that. And they didn't even do that with contraceptives. But the way Congress writes legislation is they will empower or mandate that a secretary of a government department or some other government federal bureaucracy will develop regulations on something. So Obama, after he gets Obamacare passed, his administration develops regulations that says, well, providing contraceptive care is part of the wellness and part of the preventative care that is now mandated. And that led, of course, to a court fight by objections in a court fight on religious grounds, by Catholic institutions, and not only Catholic institutions, Protestants. So people might remember the Hobby Lobby case. That went all the way to the Supreme Court in 2014. The Little Sisters filed suit because they said, look, we object to providing contraceptive care. And also, even if you provide us with an accommodation that doesn't just let us off. If you would make us go through all these steps to do this accommodation, that's a violation of our rights. And if you think about it, that makes sense, because saying that you have to go get approval from the government in a situation like this for an accommodation is the same thing as going to the government to ask for permission to exercise your constitutional right. So they had a point on that they had a point there also. Well, decades ago, under President Clinton, the U.S. Congress passed the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. And of course, the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution includes freedom of religion, and especially the free exercise clause. So the first round of cases go up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court says, look, there has to be some allowance for closely held private businesses, such as Hobby Lobby. And the Hobby Lobby and the Little Sisters of the Poor win in that round. Well, of course, the other side comes back and files suit again. Goes up to the Supreme Court in 2016. They handed down a pretty poor decision there that basically said, hey, go work out your differences. Donald Trump becomes president in 2017, takes office, and he, in his administration, promulgates basically a conscience right, a right to conscience objection or accommodation in the law. And you would think, and that was to recognize the Supreme Court opinion from 2016. You would think that then again, that would be the end of it. No, the governments of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and others, they all file suit again against the Little Sisters of the Poor. And remember, these are sisters who have dedicated their lives to taking care of the elderly who are not able to care for themselves. Right. So think about that. These are people who are engaged in the most charitable practice there is. You know, they're making charitable offerings of their own lives through service to those who can't even take care of themselves. And these governments just keep dragging them back into court. So even though the Trump administration had promulgated that regulation, which was in favor of people, not just the Little Sisters of the Poor, but the people who want to exercise their constitutional and statutory rights to freedom of religion and free exercise of their religious beliefs, they sued the Little Sisters of the Poor again. It goes to the Supreme Court in 2020, and the Little Sisters of the Poor win. But the opinion did not state affirmatively that the Religious Freedom Restoration Act required that the government basically allow them to exercise their religious beliefs. And it certainly didn't reach the issue of the constitutional amendment, free exercise clause. And some of the justices said in the opinion at the time, in their concurrences, look, if we don't reach this issue, the other side's just going to come back and make this argument again. Commentators wrote on this at the time, 5 years ago. The Heritage Foundation commentators wrote, yes, this is a victory for the Little Sisters of the Poor, but this is going to go back to the Supreme Court because the other side's not going to give up and they're going to make the same arguments. And, Joe, that's exactly what has happened. But here's an interesting question for you. That Supreme Court opinion was in 2020. Why is it that now, not until 2025, did the courts and the litigants take action? So could that be because there was a Democrat president in there for 4 years, and they didn't want to embarrass the Democrat president, who was at least a nominal Catholic? Now that Trump's back in office, all of a sudden, it's back into court. Attacking who? Attacking the Little Sisters of the Poor.
Okay, but why isn't this more obvious than that? All of that, Brent, in the sense that, like, why can't we as Americans? I just don't understand this. I don't understand this. You might not be a practicing Catholic. You might not be a practicing Christian. You might be a nothing. You might be antagonistic towards religion, completely whatever. I don't care. But can't we all just agree that you leave these religious sisters alone? You just don't mess with them, right? Because why? Because they're not harming anybody. They're helping people. And why do you feel like you got to go above and beyond to force it down their throats to have to pay for contraception, which they oppose? Like, that seems vitriolic to me. I can't see how that makes any sense whatsoever.
No, Joe, you're entirely right. What people need to understand about these series of cases is not just the legal arguments, because there are arguments about the Administrative Procedures Act and whether or not the government has a rational basis or some reasonable basis for allowing the Little Sisters of the Poor not to have to provide contraception or even to participate in an accommodation. Forget all of those at the broader level. It's exactly what you said. Why can't they just let well enough alone? These are people who cannot agree to disagree. These are people who, as you said, they insist on forcing their views and their way of life on other people.
Yeah.
Think of the only thing that explains this attitude is an animus, an evil tendency.
Right.
Because these people insist that it's not just a matter of them having their rights. It's not just a matter of them living the way they want, even though we have moral objections to that. They have to make everyone else do it also.
Exactly.
And that is contrary to the traditional American spirit, American freedom. They always talk about reproductive health and a woman's choice. They talk about choice and freedom of choice. Where's the Little Sisters of the Poor's choice to not even participate in that? Where's their freedom of choice?
But also, where does it stop? Because even if, let's just say for the sake of the conversation, as Catholics, we thought, okay, it's okay to have contraception. We, of course, don't believe that. It's evil. We teach that in our catechism. But put that to the side for a second. Why do I expect my neighbor to pay for it one more time? Help me understand. And if I'm going to make my neighbor pay for my contraceptives, why can't I make my neighbor pay for, I don't know, a cheeseburger or a prime steak that I should be entitled to at least once a month or something along those lines? Like, where does it end where we force our neighbor to pay for something that I feel entitled to?
Well, with many people in the Democrat Party, it doesn't end, Joe. Look, the Biden administration, you and I talked about this on the radio, they tried to force abortions in pro-life states after Dobbs through a lawsuit based on EMTALA, the Emergency Medical Treatment Act. And that's where people could go to the hospital or emergency room or wherever, and they could not be turned away. And remember, the Biden administration sued. They implemented regulations, and then, of course, the pro-life states objected and sued, so it ended up going to court. They were trying to backdoor abortion that way. Look at the broader issue just of coercion versus freedom of choice, and not just in terms of personal decisions of morality or intimate affairs, but say property rights. Where does it end? The leading nominee for mayor of New York City wants to have free everything. Free. He wants to have government grocery stores. He wants to have free childcare. He wants to have free public transportation. Joe, you and I know there's no such thing as free. What that means is that people who work for a living have their money taken in the form of taxes, and the government just goes around and doles it out however it wants. Whether or not you think these are good enterprises, whether or not they are actually efficient, and they're not. By the way, the grocery run store in Kansas that was being held up by the progressives as a model of success of what would work in New York apparently has now reportedly gone out of business.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It comes down to the essential view of you either believe in the rights of the individual or you believe in the rights of the collective. Now, the Democrats are never going to use the word collective. They're not going to use the outright Marxist terminology, at least not very much, though Mamdani is on record, the Democrat nominee for mayor in New York. He's on record using some of the fundamentally Marxist phrases. But the attitude is the same. So you hit the nail on the head. It's about them forcing their views and their way of life on us. Otherwise, why do they insist on pushing a transgender ideology in the schools? Why do they do that? And why have connections between the schools and keeping that information away from the parents, which was just at the Supreme Court just earlier this year, and the parents won that case, remember, from Maryland. Why do they insist? I mean, in that Maryland case, they used to allow an opt-out for the parents when it came to those issues to get their kids out of those classes and those lessons. And then that Maryland county said, no, we're not even going to allow you that freedom.
Right.
And that's what it comes down to is freedom, Joe.
Yeah, and I think we have to make tough choices, like not living in states that want to corrupt our children. Live in a state that makes you more empowered as a parent to ensure that your child grows up, thinks straight, thinks clearly, and can withstand the pressure of the world around it. As we talked about yesterday with Conor Gallagher, thank you, Brent Haynes, for being on the team today, letting us know about this. Coming up in just a couple of minutes, Timothy Flanders is going to be here to talk about what parents can do to help educate their children to become amazing human beings that won't make such bad decisions as we are seeing being made by such highly educated folk who would want to force the little sisters of the poor to fund contraceptives. We'll be back. Don't go anywhere. Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to A Catholic Take, a bold synthesis of information and inspiration. I'm your host, Joe McClain, and here are your headline news. Just the News reports D.C. arrests total over 100 after Monday crackdown. Since President Donald Trump announced his assumption of direct federal control of the Metropolitan Police Department, the arrest total has reached 103, including 43 Tuesday arrests. The development comes as Trump has also deployed the National Guard to the city. And Breitbart reports Trump administration weighing immigration ban on members of Islamic extremist groups. Top Trump administration officials are drafting plans to restrict both temporary visits and legal immigration by Muslims affiliated with the Revolutionary Muslim Brotherhood and other extremist groups. Officials are preparing to apply for the terrorist label to be set for Islamic groups linked to the sprawling Muslim Brotherhood movement, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said. Both Rubio and Joe Edlow, director of the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service Agency, warned that officials must protect Americans' legal rights as they try to constrain the Brotherhood. And Catholic Vote reports Virginia governor orders criminal investigation into claims that the school district procured abortions for minors. Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin has ordered criminal investigation into Fairfax County Public Schools following allegations that school officials facilitated and paid for abortions for 2 minors without parental consent, potentially violating state law. The investigation was prompted by reports from a school social worker and a whistleblower highlighting concerns about the misuse of public funds and lack of parental notifications. And those are your headline news. Just highlights the concerns parents have. You got to be careful while you send your kids to school. On that point, joining us now is Timothy Flanders from OnePeterFive fame. He's also with the Avila Institute and the Mary Queen of the Home Academy, and he joins us this morning. Good morning to you, Timothy. Thank you for your time.
Hey, good morning. Jesus is King. Thanks, Joe.
Now and forever, praise be to God. Let's talk about, just real quick, though, just like in general, like, parents need to choose very carefully how they educate their kids because the fight for their kids' soul is like at a pitched fever battle right now, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. We've seen more and more public displays of wickedness. Before it was much more insidious. I talked on a podcast recently about Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Noah Webster, these different guys from the so-called Enlightenment way back in the 18th century. They wanted to replace the formation of children by parents with the government. That was their whole goal with public education, and that's what they said. That was their explicit aim. But it was more insidious back then. There was a certain amount of propaganda convincing people, but nowadays it's a lot more upfront.
Yeah, and we saw a huge swing towards homeschoolers with the lockdowns of 2020 and all of the insanity that ensued from that era. And a lot of parents had to turn to homeschooling because they were locked out. They were left no choice. And I guess many of those families sort of decided, you know what, this actually works. This is good stuff for our family. And they turned to it. And I think that's been a good thing. I mean, we have been homeschooling our kids going back to, 2002, 2003. We started homeschooling our oldest son, praise be to God. We've been doing it ever since. But not everybody feels like they're up to it. But there's a lot of myths and misconceptions about homeschooling, aren't there?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the most important thing is that, as Lumen Gentium says, Vatican II says this, parents are the first preachers of the faith to their children. Parents are the educators, period. That's just a foundational reality. And then parents utilize various resources to assist themselves in the formation of their own children. So we're all kind of homeschoolers in a sense. And then some parents choose to utilize different forms of schooling at different points. And every child is also different. Some children just don't work with homeschool. Sometimes you have to use the public schools. Like if you have a child with learning disabilities or different special needs that are difficult for you to provide for in a homeschooling environment. So it's important to emphasize that, we're all homeschoolers in a sense, but we all utilize whatever resources are best for our children.
Well, what I loved about that growth in the homeschooling, world, the community, especially ones that we belong to, is more resources came online because there were more people thinking about the issue. We saw more co-ops come on board, and we participated in some of those co-ops. Praise be to Jesus. And then there's something like what you're doing right now, which is the Avila Institute and the Mary Queen of the Home Academy. This seems very interesting to me as a homeschooling dad. Why don't you tell me about it?
Yeah. So first of all, the Avila Institute is primarily Avila Institute has worked for years with spiritual formation of adults. And the mission statement is to provide spiritual formation, which is mystagogically oriented. Basically, it's about reproposing the mystical tradition of prayer to all Catholics. And so it's primarily spiritual formation for adults. But we've started this homeschool academy. We're now entering our third year. We've just expanded and hired new teachers. And so what it is, it's not just a high school program. It's more of a formation for Catholics post-confirmation. So it's trying to form them in the faith for their adult Catholic life. The primary class for this is the Credo Catechism class, which is where we take what they learned from their confirmation formation, and then we bring them into the mystagogy in a real sense. We teach them, how do you have a rule of life? How do you focus on your spiritual life? How do you learn discipline? How do you learn these different ascetical exercises so that you can become a Catholic adult? And so that's the formation of this post-confirmation reality that they're in. And then the Credo Catechism allows them to take on all the various things that Catholic adults have been debating about and look into those things and face them so that they're prepared for Catholic adult life. And then we also have the formation in all the basic kind of high school classes. We just launched literature this year, the formation of the Great Western Canon. That's a critical formation piece in that children get formed in good literature, because literature provides children with contact with reality in a safe environment. Because they need to have contact with reality, but reality has a great deal of evil in it. But when we read literature, we can have that contact with reality without the negative things that one can have when one has contact with reality. Another great course that we're offering is the science course, the first level physical science, which will be built next year with biology and chemistry and whatnot. And that's another important piece for Catholic adult life, because Catholics need to be formed in a true scientific outlook, because we're going to be faced with all these scientific challenges to the faith. And we just saw, as you just mentioned, like COVID, that whole craziness that went on. Right. So those are some of the things that we're producing here at Mary, Queen of the Home Academy.
I know in many ways, it's like we have to get our kids prepared to walk into the world, stand on their own 2 feet, be principled individuals, based on the Catholic faith, their divinely revealed and inspired religion that God has given to mankind, and be able to interact in society, be able to see where the frauds are, because the scientism alone is something you talked about in a video the other day. It's like they're going to be surrounded by people who are going to embrace the religion of scientism versus actual science. I even seen Augustine in his commentaries on Genesis talk about this difference. He doesn't use those words, but he's basically talking about the same thing. there's no difference between the God who created the world and the God of Revelation. It's the same God. So if there's some sort of disjointed disconnect, you probably don't understand the revelation. You need to go back and dig deeper. St. Augustine was very clear here. And our church has been very clear over the centuries and millennia. And yet too many kids, they walk away post-confirmation. They walk into the world. They go to the university, and then they walk straight out of the church. There's a University of Notre Dame study that just got released this week from the Church Life Journal, basically pointing this out too. Even Notre Dame is pointing it out. You don't have to go so far as the Rad Trad crew commenting on YouTube anymore. Just go to Notre Dame. They'll tell you they're walking away in droves from the Catholic faith. So we do. The fight is on. We must form them well. But too often, Catholic schools, private Catholic schools, don't form them well enough. Public schools definitely aren't. And a lot of times, the homeschoolers are having to dig deep to get the best content possible to help their kids. And now you're supplementing that.
Yeah, so we just provide a supplement for what your needs are as parents at the high school level. Another course that which is relevant to this discussion is the church history course. So this fall we have part 1, so Church History 101, which goes from Adam and Eve to the year 1773. So it's just ancient history going all the way up to the modern period. And then next year we'll do Bible history. And the third year we'll do the modern period, a full year course on that because it's so complicated. But with history, we've had a lot, even in the Catholic schools, we've had a lot of shame about our history. We've had a lot of just, we're so ashamed of the Inquisition or the Crusades or whatever boogeyman they throw at us.
Sure.
And there's been a lot of apologizing and whatnot. I'm not knocking a certain amount of moderation regarding the way we present those things. I get that. But we need to be proud of our history, be thankful for our forefathers who fought the good fight. And so this formation in church history, we take on all those apologetic angles in the history. We talk about those different aspects of the things that people bring up. Like here we are in the Americas, a common refrain is that the Europeans came here and, killed the Indians and enslaved all the black people and all that stuff. So, one of the things that we cover in this church history course is something that's not very often covered, unfortunately. A lot of church history courses just kind of talk about the elites, like the kings and the princes and their armies. But we talk about the common people and what they were about. And we talk about the legacy of slavery. Slavery actually came from the Mohammedans. They were the ones who innovated a racist ideology to justify this whole trans-Saharan slave trade before the transatlantic slave trade, which is almost never discussed by anyone. Never. So all these different aspects of history that are hidden or propagandized so that Catholic young adults can really get a formation. They can be proud and happy that they're Catholics and they have this glorious history of the faith.
Yeah. Praise be to God. So right now it looks like you've got 3 instructors to include yourself. Can you take me through who your instructors are, their backgrounds?
Sure. Yeah. So we've got Lucy Simmerer is a a veteran homeschooling mom, and all of her children are adults now in higher education. So she's just she helps out with her parish school, and she teaches math, science, and literature for us. And so this fall and the whole year, she's teaching the Great Western Canon 101 and the science course. And so she is a really, really great educator. She's got a lot of great experience and a lot of experience working with homeschoolers and a lot of different homeschool programs, because we're basically supplementing for whatever the requirements are in your state. Every state is different, has different methods, and people are using different programs to get transcripts as well. And Lucy's really great with all that. And then we have Joseph Fryman. Joseph Fryman wrote the book Summa Apologetica. And that text is the textbook for his course, Summa Apologetica, of the same name. And it's basically a Bible of apologetics. And it goes through every conceivable objection to the faith in every single different aspect to really give people some ammo to bolster their own faith and then be ready for the questions that will be thrown at them. So this is a really great course, and I'm really excited for that. So that's a year-long course as well. So those are the main offerings. And then I also teach Latin. So we also mentioned Latin. So there's
hold that thought right there. Very grateful to iCatholicMobile.com for sponsoring us here at the Station of the Cross Catholic Media Network. They're a wireless phone service company. Yes, they've got 5G, unlimited data. They've got all of the bells and whistles, praise be to God. But, you know, my family just loves the fact that our cell phone company is Catholic. Is yours? I'm just curious. Hey, you can find them at iCatholicMobile.com for more information, but make sure to tell them that we sent you. We'd be grateful. We're having a conversation right now with Timothy Flanders over at Mary Queen of the Home Academy about their curriculum. And, you know, right before the break, I kind of went to break thinking, oh, this is for homeschoolers. Maybe this is not just for homeschoolers. Timothy, welcome back. I imagine like even a family who sends their kids to maybe public school or even a private school, like they could participate, right? It's not just for homeschoolers, is it?
Yeah, it's formation for post-confirmation. So anything you want to supplement, like if you're in a public school situation or whatever you are in, you can take these courses. All of the courses are live and interactive on Zoom. And you can also, there's some students that we have where they have a time conflict or whatever, and they can't make it to the live courses. And so they watch the recording of the course and then they interact with the teacher outside the classroom time setting, but they can still do the homework and do the projects and whatnot. So that's also an option. Not ideal, obviously, but if that's something that you want to take advantage of. One of the courses is the apologetics course is actually at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on Thursdays. So that's outside of the normal day hours as well. Otherwise, our courses take place during school hours, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So that's the advantage. Every course is $250. It's 1 hour per week with homework every day, except for the Latin class meets twice a week. So that's $375. But you can also pay what you can because we want to work with homeschooling families, people who don't have the income or whatever to cover everything. We also have that option to work with them as well. So those are some of the logistics.
And so I'm seeing here algebra is going to be on the docket soon. Hopefully that's going to get on the schedule. It's very interesting because for our family, we've been using a program now for many years. We've been using it actually for all of our kids. And it's a Protestant fellow who does it. He's been great, though. He teaches it very simply, but it'd be nice to have a Catholic course and curriculum teaching that. That'd be really nice. And one you can interact with because all of ours are DVD based. So that, especially for a course like math where the kid has to ask the same questions over and over again because the concepts are hard to get or whatever, and you just need that sort of nuanced one-on-one. This sounds like a very affordable, doable thing. And that the prices you just quoted are those are per semester. That's not per class, right?
Correct. It's per semester. So a lot of these are like the church history course is 1 semester. And then I switched the Credo class in the spring for Lent. But the literature, apologetics, and science are all full year courses. So it's $250 for the fall and then $250 again for the spring semester.
Okay. Latin 101, Latin 102. So there's a lot of Latin there, praise be to Jesus. That's not really taught all that much. I know a lot of Catholic schools that don't teach Latin anymore. That seems to have fallen away. And yet our legal system, our healthcare system, let alone the liturgical life of the church, all based on Latin. Why do you think Latin has suffered so much? Why does it need to come back?
Well, there's this great document called Vetera Sapientiae in 1962 that was released in the spring before Vatican II happened that same fall. And John the 23rd warned the bishops of the world to beware of the revolutionaries who want to overthrow Latin. And why do they hate Latin so much? It's like, well, it's just a language, but it's actually the building block of Christendom itself in everything. Latin is what enables philosophy because, or I should say language enables philosophy. So the language is what forms the philosophical framework in which a man thinks. This is why Greek is so important, because Greek philosophy is very important, but Latin philosophy in particular gives us what we call Romanitas, which is the particular Roman culture, which was pre-Christian, and adopted by the church in the basic framework of the way that the church thinks in her philosophical outlook. And this is what allows the Roman Catholic Church to rule the world, because Romanitas provides that philosophical legal framework, also the liturgical framework. And this is the language in which was written all the classics of the Western civilization, which really founded so much of our framework, of our reference. So they want to overthrow Latin because it's a building block of Christendom. It's a building block of Western civilization.
Right.
And learning Latin is what provides. So this course, because at the Avalons, unfortunately, a lot of homeschool courses, even that they teach Latin, you're learning words like gladius, for example, which means sword. You're learning how Marcus is a vir who has a gladius, which is all great, but it's a lot of classical vocabulary, classical terminology. We're talking about Caesar. Now, that's great, but it's limited because our course focuses on ecclesiastical Latin. We focus on teaching Latin, the Latin of the Mass, so that children can hear the music. In particular, we use a lot of music in our course, music to enter into the mystagogical reality of the church's music in Latin. And almost all of the church's Western tradition is music in Latin. And it's really hard to interact with that if you're against Latin in the first place, or if you don't have any knowledge of Latin. And so that's what we focus on. And so I'm really excited about this course. And I love teaching Latin. It's like one of my favorite things to teach.
I can tell. Praise be to God. So on the docket, I'm seeing you have church history starting September the 11th. We just talked about the Latin. That starts September the 9th. I look at physical science starting September the 3rd. We've got the Summa Apologetica 101 starting September the 4th. We've got literature starting September the 3rd. So there's a full docket there starting very, very soon, less than a month now. Can families choose one? Can they choose all? Like, is there some sort of minimum to sign up for?
No, there's no minimum, because this is just a supplemental. We don't provide a cohesive curriculum. We're just supplementing the curriculum that you already have. And so eventually, hopefully, we'll grow to provide something more like that. But yes, you can take one. There's no minimum. There is a deadline, however. We have a deadline for one more week. So August 20 is the final deadline for signing up for all the courses. So sign up today. Gotta hurry.
All right. So then I guess the next question is, what do you hope to do in the next couple of years? We have a couple minutes left here, but in the next few years, how do you want to expand this? If you could get anything you want and expand this to whatever you wanted it to look like, what would that look like?
Well, we're going to build out the literature formation. So we'll have 3 or 4 years of literature formation, because the first year here is classical literature. So this is all pre-Christian literature. And I say pre-Christian as opposed to pagan in the sense of a negative pagan aspect. We would build out the science curriculum as well. The math, we did not have the enrollment we needed to get that going this month, or of this year. So hopefully next year we can get the math program going. And then we'll also have a 3-year program in church history that'll be starting this year, Bible history, then modern period. But I also want to really focus on providing courses which are of a practical nature. And that's because a lot of high school programs focused on a lot of abstract knowledge that is not as practical as adults need, like economics, different aspects of that, politics, how to interact with the adult world. So those are some of the things long term.
Yeah, praise be to God. Timothy Flanders, so grateful for your time today. Thanks for getting up and being on the team. We're going to put a link to this Mary Queen of the Home Academy. And if you're going to consider it, you do need to consider it within a week now, because the deadline is coming fast. Avila-institute.org is the main website.
And we're back. Welcome to the after show, everyone.
And we are back. Good morning, everybody. Praise be to God. Good to have you on. I feel a wee bit better today than I did yesterday. I slept a lot yesterday, though. I was crushed. I went right back to bed. Most of the day was spent in bed yesterday, unfortunately, which means I was not very, very productive. Not a very productive day, but God is good. And it was a kind of a miracle getting Timothy Flanders on, because generally speaking, he can't come on at this time. Family or whatever other activities he was doing at the time. I don't think he's not the kind of guy who sleeps in, but he normally can't. I almost always have to pre-record with Timothy Flanders. And I had invited him, a few days back, and I never heard back. So yesterday I get out of bed and I'm like, I got to find a guest, I guess, for Timothy Flanders. Didn't respond. And I was texting somebody else right then and there. Why are we humbling you? Why are you?
I'm just doing a white balance here.
He's doing a white balance with his
trying
humility.
to.
Your humility is white balance.
Not
and it didn't work. No. It didn't work.
Nope.
At any rate, I was in the process of texting for another guest, and right before I hit send, Timothy Flanders texted me back. Hey, is that still available? I'm like, yes, of course. Praise be to God. So it all worked out. Very happy about that. Good morning to you, Damon. Good morning to you. Is this Gus? Gus, you're in Rome? Oh, man. Good for you, bro. I'm jealous. What's on the agenda in Roma? Let me know. So many great things to see and do while you're in Rome. Praise Jesus. Rome is a great city. James 16897, good morning to you. All aboard the struggle bus. Yay and amen. That's an excellent gift, by the way. Jane, good morning to you. Trad Jack Burton tweet until Robert is over there. Good morning. Good morning. Eileen, Mary, you're amazing. Good morning. Thank you. Sharon, good morning to you, Sharon. Hopefully you're feeling well. All our friends from Buffalo, from sunny Buffalo. Rebecca, good morning to you. Yvonne, good morning. T-Storm, good morning to you. I'm scrolling. Eileen, did I say Eileen? Eileen, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Jen Nugent's here. Praise be to Jesus. All in the chat. Low key, good morning to you. I'm feeling a wee bit better, but still not 100%. And there's obviously something going around the house. So there's a bug somewhere. We don't know what it is, but it's going around. It's making the rounds, apparently. KSW Benedictine Oblate, you're amazing. It says, call your congressman and demand repeal of the Affordable Care Act. The Little Sisters are depending on you and I. Please don't forget. There's been zero effort from the Trump administration to repeal the Obamacare Act. Why do you think that is? They're just like, we're moving on. We've settled. It's all good. We can just move on with our life. I find that interesting. Richard Corwin, good morning to you. Says, many blessings to you and to Jake. I pray all is well with you all. Yay and amen. Thank you for saying so. Roxanne, good morning. Craig, good morning. Alaric, good morning to you. Phoebe is here. Helen Grace is here. Janice, praise be to God. Thanks for being on the team today. Christine OFS, good morning to you. We get so much more from the ACT than just listening to issues. We learn about our faith and details we would probably, most of us, never learn. Resourceful, beyond so grateful. You're amazing to say so. Thank you for that. It's probably because Jake and I are on the we're on the take at the Vatican and Israel.
Exactly.
Probably why. Oh, don't I wish. Helen Grace, again, good morning to you. Latin taught in my girls' Catholic high school in the 60s. I've never actually studied Latin ever. My oldest son, he took Latin as part of his high school curriculum, although we homeschool, and it drove my wife absolutely bonkers. It was like really hard for both of them, I think. So we've kind of scaled that back, even in our own home over the years. Lucia, good morning to you. Try to provide iodine. Povidone. Iodine nasal spray, Joe. It helps with so many things. Hope you feel better. Well, thank you. I had never heard of that. I'll have to look into it. Angelique, good morning to you. Patty, good morning. Lori, good morning to you. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being on the team. Junior Bard, Donald Paddock, the usual crew, the usual suspects. Over on the Rumbles, Honey West is here. He tried to repeal it in the first time, and McCain backstabbed them. So you think he's done? So he shouldn't try again? McCain is gone. He probably won't get the votes, will he? Lynn Pine, Nick the Mike, Gregwensa, good morning. James 16897, all thanks for hanging out with us on the Rumbles. Oh, did you study Latin, Jake, in school?
I took a semester of it in college. Sadly, my Catholic high school did not offer it at the time I was going there.
Really?
Yeah. But I took a semester of it in college. I didn't enjoy it that much, mainly because of the professor. So I didn't keep up with it, and that was
did he make it hard? He didn't teach it well, or what?
She was just kind of, I don't know. It was all, again, kind of like what Timothy Flanders was describing. Like, it was all classical stuff, and it was just like, so I was annoyed by having to learn the wrong pronunciation of everything, and it was just like, I don't know. It was boring, and senioritis had set in by that point as well, because that was my senior year. So I was like, man, I kind of wish I'd started it earlier with a different professor. Then maybe I would have gotten into it more. But anyhow, I do have a bunch of the books on my shelf. I've been meaning to get back into doing some study on it, because I've picked up a lot of vocab through the osmosis of chanting it constantly. But as far as grammar goes, I'm not very well versed in that. So would be neat to do a little more study in it.
I know enough to follow at the TLM mass. That's about it. That's all. And then, then it's sometimes I have to like really listen. Part of the problem I have at the mass is especially like on the credo, after we get up off of our knees, when they stretch the crucifixius out, I'm like, it always throws me for a curveball every time, and I've been doing it for years. Just never quite get that part right. I don't know why.
You should listen to Lotti's setting of the Crucifixus, because the whole thing opens with just a long Crucifix. Right, yeah.
Easy for you.
All the voices build on each other. It's a gorgeous piece, heartbreakingly beautiful.
Easy for you to say.
That piece will make you cry for sure.
Loki says, Joe, there is only so much political capital. They have to pick their battles. Well, so Obamacare is not one of them? I don't know. I think it needs to be. Because obviously it's the mechanism through which they try to cram down all their progressive agendas into religious communities and Catholics with abortion mandates and all the rest. And when that infrastructure remains in place when Donald Trump is gone and the next Democrat admin comes in, they already have all the infrastructure they need to continue to cram it down our throats. So, I don't know. I would say it needs to go. Jen Nugent, good morning again. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being on the team. Rebecca says, it wasn't just John McCain that put up a fight. Yeah, not surprised, huh? The whole Freedom Caucus fought it, but do people still get fined if they don't take Obama? Who remembers having to, like, on your tax filings, prove that you had insurance? Like, who remembers that? Like, that's bonkers. Bonkers. What does freedom actually mean? It means you're required to have health insurance or else. And that was happening at a time when I lost health insurance and couldn't get health insurance. And in order to get health insurance, I had to either pay through the nose or beyond the team of progressive Marxism. Like, those are your options. There was no middle ground, except for that's when we found the health co-op group, and we were able to use that, and that did qualify. But Obama and Obamacare actually limited it. He did not want the growth of that. So the only way you could create new co-ops was by being grandfathered in underneath the umbrella of an existing one. He didn't want any new ones. So when that took off, when Obamacare became a thing, people flocked to these health co-ops, and they were growing. But there was no Catholic one. So these Catholics got together and they tried to create a Catholic one, which I've never joined, by the way. And it's because of this whole thing. They weren't their own thing. They were under somebody else. And the way the health co-op works is the bigger the pot of money, the more likely your needs are to be taken care of, or the needs of anybody in particular. So when you have a small pot, which the Catholic group does, a small pot, you're much more likely to have to come out of pocket for stuff. And we've had surgeries, we've had babies, we've had broken bones, we've had all kinds of things happen over the years. And like I went to the hospital, I had $40,000+ worth of tests run on me within a 24-hour period. All of that covered by my co-op community. I mean, let that sink in. If I would have had to do 80-20 on that, just imagine what the cost would have been out of pocket. So very grateful for our co-op. It's been amazing, which is why I've never wanted to go back to having a standard healthcare insurance, because I believe it's a racket. Although my employer is very generous to offer it to me, thankfully. Honey West says, okay, I have to get a memory off my chest. If you will bear with me. What are we doing now, Honey West? Joe mentions of a school helping children get abortion. Reminded me of it. That's in Virginia, by the way. In the movie The Godfather, there is a scene where a baby was baptized in a beautiful church. This was at Mount Loretto on Staten Island, New York, where I grew up. I went to college for social work, and we visited a lot of places. Mount Loretto was an orphanage. On one side of the road that they housed the boys, on the other side of the road they housed the girls. This was a Catholic organization. I figured there were pregnancies. So I asked my professor if it was appropriate if I asked about it. She said yes. So I asked about what happened if the girls got pregnant, and they told me they had forced abortions, no options. That still bothers me to this day. Is that true? Is that actually true? There were actual forced abortions in an orphanage, a Catholic orphanage? I don't know. That sounds. Have you fact checked that? Is that true? That blows my mind. If so,
that's the one thing to be careful of. Is especially in this day and age, they might tell.
It feels a wee bit like the Canadian story about all the babies, all the children that they it feels a wee bit like that. Like I bet if we dug into that, I'm wanting to know whether or not that might prove to be not true. Like it's just one of those myths that rise over time. Because that sounds crazy to me. There's a reason why they put them on opposite sides of the road. Now, orphanages don't, listen, the child might not be a faithfully zealous Catholic, so they still could give themselves over to their temptations or, concupiscent nature or whatever. But I can't imagine the response is you must have the abortion then. I have to believe the response is, well, we're going to try to take care of the baby, do what we can, and this is not the best way to start a family, right? I don't know. I just would want to fact check that. Low Key says, I think Trump would go after a federal income tax before Obamacare. Please, yes, I'll take that. I would love to see him get rid of federal income tax. It'd be amazing. There is more support in base for one over the other, but one has the infrastructure to cram progressive agendas down your throat more than the other. I'm going to argue. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but it feels like Obamacare is the delivery system for a progressive agenda, whereas federal income is just the means to pay for a fat, bloated government, whether it's Republican or Democrat. I don't know. I guess I could talk myself into saying income be a great way to start. I don't know. Not sure. Eileen says, I knew working people who said it was so expensive that it was cheaper to pay the fine. When I looked at when I lost my insurance because it was my own choosing, I knew that it was going to happen. I had left corporate America. I had fantastic insurance. I had Cadillac insurance. I worked for the guy who owned the Houston Astros. Drayton McClain Jr. was his name. And the insurance, what he did was he took all of his companies and he grouped them together to include the Houston Astros into one big giant healthcare plan. So we all had the same insurance. So Craig Biggio, a Hall of Famer, he and I had the same insurance plan, which was like a $30 copay. Oh, brain transplant? No problem. $30. Whatever you wanted, it didn't matter. And so, it was Cadillac insurance, to be sure. But when I left that, I had no insurance. And then I was looking for insurance for that first year. I had Cobra, and we were looking for insurance. And when I realized it was going to cost an absolute fortune. And my 501c3 employer they were wanting me to get an insurance plan. But I'm like, why? We're going to waste so many donor dollars to pay for this. This does not seem right. And that's when we really went down the health co-op thing and never looked back. Lucia Morgan says, Jake, can you post a link for the piece that you were just humming? Thanks. I would love to hear it.
I certainly can. Should I put it in the show notes?
Yeah, you can. Or you can just throw it in the chat box too.
Oh, was that in Telegram?
That was Facebook.
Oh, Facebook. I can send links. There we go.
Gentleman's choice. You can certainly put it in the show notes as well.
Easy.
I just saw someone tag me and now I'm losing it. Here it is. Richard Corwin, good morning to you again. Praise be to God. Thank you again for hanging out with us. Jake, with you, Craig says, Jake, with your singing style to Old Man River, whatever comes natural. Old Man River. How's that tune go?
I was asking him if I should do it with the full accent or if I should sanitize it for YouTube purposes.
No, do the full accent.
With the Old Man River, that old man river, he must know something, but don't say nothing. He just keeps rolling. He keeps on rolling along. It's a great song. That's a great song.
Good. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
I'd have to look up all the lyrics to sing the full thing.
Wade into the water for me. It's karaoke time. Wade in the water. Wade
I don't know it well enough
in the
to sing
water.
It.
How's it go?
There,
Come
see,
on
you
now.
You just did it.
No, you do it.
Hey,
You're
karaoke.
better.
Everyone takes a turn when it comes to karaoke. So if you're going to declare karaoke, then karaoke
we
law
should
is gonna,
open the phone
gonna
lines just
effect.
for karaoke. Should we do that? Should we open the phone lines for karaoke on the after show?
That would be very high
kind of
quality.
funny.
I just sent a link to the Crucifixus piece in the on the Facebook comments there. With the
Joe, Eileen asks, Joe, can you share the name of the health plan you use? We use Samaritan Health Co-op. It's based out of Chicago, and it's a Protestant organization. What's interesting is every year we have to reaffirm our stance. You have to be active at your church, and they want to know that you limit drinking and smoking. So Jake would obviously, probably be disqualified here. However, it's not so big deal for me. But they make you take this form that you fill out that you're basically affirming that you're a Christian, active at your church, and you limit all these other things. And you have to take it to your pastor, and your pastor has to sign it and submit it. So every year we get our priest to sign it and submit it on our behalf. One year, actually, I had, this was years and years and years ago. I had we sent it to our priest, and our priest had never seen one of these things before. So he called me. He's like, I'm putting my name on this. How much do you drink? I thought it was great. I'm like, not very often. He's like, okay, good. So he took it seriously. Praise be to Jesus. So Samaritan Healthcare. There's others. You can check them out. And again, there is a Catholic version. I think it's called CMFR Curo, if I remember correctly. I haven't looked at them in a number of years now. Maybe they're big enough, but honestly, the pot matters. If you have a lot of members, the more members that you have, the bigger the pot. The bigger the pot, the more likely that every single month your needs will be taken care of. When we first started it back in 2009, the pot wasn't all that big. So there were months where we would get a notice to say, hey, this month we're going to prorate 80%. So only if you had a need that month, if you had a medical need and you submitted that need to get covered, you might only get 80% covered back in those early days. And then Obamacare happened and it shot through the roof, and we never had a problem since. So thanks, Obamacare. Thanks for growing it's kind of like Traditionis Custodes grew the parking lot of my trad parish. It's kind of like that.
When persecution comes along, I'm not saying I'm the master of doing this, but when persecution comes along, the first thing you should do is thank God, because it means you're doing something right, and something even better will probably come out of it.
Yes. Now, the downside of belonging to a Protestant organization in this regard is every once in a while we'll get a Jack Chick track from the people sending me a check to cover my needs, because that's how it works, by the way. So every month, like, they give you levels at which you can participate, and we participate the maximum level because we wanted maximum coverage for our family, and so we pay the most possible for a family, which is still, I don't know what it is off the top of my head, to be honest with you, because my wife manages it, so I don't really know what it is off the top of my head, but it's way less than $1,000 every month for my entire family, 6 kids, right? And it's the maximum coverage, so anything that would happen, we would be all right. But every month what happens is we get a letter from this organization that says, hey, this month you need to send your check to Bob and Sue in Idaho. Bob had a heart attack. So what we do is we send them a check. We send it directly to Bob and Sue. We don't send it to the organization. And we include a note that say, hey, we're praying for you. We're praying for your recovery. We're praying for your family. So like when I went to the hospital in January and my wife submitted the need to this group, we have you pay out of pocket first. So when I go to the hospital, I pay the bill, or at least set up a plan to pay the bill. And then I get all the itemized receipts, and then I send that to Samaritan. Samaritan submits the need, and it gets published. So usually like the next month it gets published. And then we get a list from Samaritan that he gives us a list of all the names of all the members who are going to be cutting us a check and mailing us a check. And when those checks come in, we check them off, and we report back to Samaritan and say, hey, we received all the checks. Or, hey, listen, Ted and Jill didn't send us their check. They contact Ted and Jill and say, hey, where's that check? And we eventually get it. We've never not gotten a check, I don't think. And then we take those checks, cash them, and we cover our expenses. That's how it works. There's downsides. It's not 100% perfect. This is a downside. You are chasing down all those itemized bills from every entity. You go to the ER, it's not just one bill. You got the ER bill, you've got the doctor's bill that you saw, you've got the various tests that they've run. You got to chase those down. There's the ambulance that hauled you there half naked in January when it was freezing cold. They still hauled you off there. They charge you some money, so you got to hound all those down, and you got to submit all. So there's downsides. There's definitely downsides to it. The upside is you pay a fraction of what your insurance company is going to charge for the same service. There's just less fluff in it. So you got to pick and choose carefully for your own family on how all that works. What I say is 80-20 is great if you're just doing a doctor's visit. If you just got to go get a checkup, 80-20 is the way to go. It's cheaper, it's easier, it's less hassle. But if you actually go to the hospital and you have something, like you need surgery, you have a heart attack, you're in a car accident and something bad happens, like, your standard 80-20 is not a great deal at that point. You're going to pay a lot of money out of pocket in a serious situation. Whereas on the health co-op side, you got you just got to go follow up on a doctor. It's not going to help you at all. You go into the hospital and you had something major happen, it's going to come to your rescue. It's really going to help out. It's going to be a big deal, and you're going to hardly pay anything out of your pocket. So therein lies the comparison. But every once in a while, because people notice that we're Catholics, they'll send us thank you. They'll send us, hey, we're praying for you that you convert from your pagan Babylonian, religion, and they'll include a chick track along with their check. It's a little weird, but that's the way it works. That's okay. We can pray for all these people too.
Those Protestants up to no good as usual.
It's a two-way road. The two-way road. Hey, the traditional Thomist is back on the team. Praise be to God. Joe McClain. It's not just a liturgical scholar and a political scientist, but also a master expert in health insurance. His audience is blessed to hear hours of his insurance lectures.
Let's hire the traditional Thomas to do all new voiceovers for the show.
Oh,
you know,
new voiceovers. Could you imagine?
A bold synthesis of liturgical expertise, political science, health insurance advice.
Health insurance advice. Don't take my advice, by the way. I'm required to say that. Don't take my advice, my financial or health or otherwise. What if you're on Medicare? That's a good question. I think the problem I have with all of that, though, is sort of the implications of what those services cover, abortifacients, and all the rest. I'd rather not be a part of it. Mm-hmm. T-Storm says, do the hospitals and doctors' offices honor any type of contracted rates with co-op? That's a fascinating question. The answer is when you walk in, from their perspective, you are self-pay. They don't, I mean, they now, it's interesting because in the early days, they hadn't really heard of this. Now they have. They definitely have heard of co-op, so they understand the deal now, which makes it a little easier because now they're more geared to, oh, okay, you need an itemized list to make sure that you get that covered. We're going to print that out for you and give you that. So it's a little easier now than it was in the early days. This was all new to them back then. But strictly speaking, when you walk in, you're self-pay. Now, the thing is, they have two rates. They have the rate that they charge your insurance company, your standard 80/20 Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance company. They charge this much. But when you are self-pay, they charge this much. So they have two different rates. And the reason why there's a difference is because when they charge Blue Cross Blue Shield this much money for that same service, they know Blue Cross Blue Shield is going to beat them up so that they're going to get to here. So they charge this knowing they're going to get this. So when you walk in and you're paying out of pocket, they just give you this and they cut the fluff. It's just straight to the point. So you get a much better deal. Also, what we've noticed in the trends since we started in 2009, like the doctor that I'm going to see right now for my issue that I'm struggling with, this doctor, he's a medical doctor. He worked in the standard medical field, hospital, all the rest. You know, he did what the normal track was to do, but then he got out of it during COVID because he was kind of sick and tired of the rigmarole. He was sick and tired of the insurance regulations and the insurance sort of controlling how medical care actually works. And he wanted to actually try to help people. So he needed to get out of the system to be able to do that. So now he's open to practice where he's a functional doctor. And we just paid him, it was a fairly expensive doctor's visit, not your typical doctor's visit, but we sat down with him for over an hour talking about the actual issues and like looking at what can be done, what not to be done, what to do next. And like if you're on 80/20 standard insurance, you go to a doctor's office, they set you up in one of four little rooms. The nurse comes in, does your vital thing, gets the paperwork started. The doctor is there for 5 minutes and moves on to the next. And that's all they do all day is they set them up and knock them down, set them up and knock them down, set them up and knock them down. It's a racket. I sat with this doctor for an hour. I paid him for his time. And we had a quality conversation. Like, you're never going to get that on 80/20 insurance. The only way that works is if that doctor takes a check from me directly and I don't have to, I cut the middleman out. I mean, it's like a whole new world as far as that goes. So I think there's a big trend there. I think a lot of doctors are seeing that and going, yeah, golly gee whiz. I mean, who remembers that documentary series on television called House? Like House actually wanted to solve a problem. Like, man, this is mind-blowing. Like, you're going to actually like find a conclusion to this? Not just treat symptoms, but actually try to figure out what's wrong and then fix it? They should teach that in medical school, for crying out loud. Like, that's kind of where a lot of doctors, I think, are wanting to go. So, but to do that, they got and still make a living. They're trying to figure out that system, and I think that's what they're doing. Nicholas says, Jake, what's your opinion on health insurance? Fan or critic? We need to know.
My opinion on health insurance? I don't know. I just don't like dealing with it.
You're about to be a married man. You have to have an opinion here.
I mean,
you're you're going to have 16 or 18 kids.
Yeah, exactly.
They need to be covered.
I would prefer to just make tons of money and be able to just pay it. So
there you go, folks.
I think that
there you go.
I think it just shouldn't be that expensive.
Back in the day, my grandmother's grandfather was a
when there's a problem an older gentleman with a mustache and gray at the temples should come to the house with a little black bag.
Exactly.
And fix your kids. That's what should happen.
That's 100%.
That's what I believe. There's my opinion on health insurance.
So on board.
This is what should happen.
Yes.
So, anyway,
we need that again, don't we? What is this doctor's name?
Cops from the local area who are on the beat and know their
Bert the cop. We need Bert the cop
charges.
back. Yeah. Remember Bert the cop from It's a Wonderful Life?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's what we need. We need that, and we need what's the most famous doctor from television movie
that's a good
genre?
question.
What's the most famous?
Was that? There was kind of was it The Country Doctor or something like that? There was a show in the 50s or 60s about that, and then
Gunsmoke Doc. What was the Gunsmoke Doc's
what was
name?
his name?
I don't remember. The creatine is not kicking in.
Yeah. I feel like all the famous doctors are from more recent shows where it's all kind of hospital drama and this sort of thing,
Nicholas, you're killing me, man. I was on the edge of my seat.
I think at some point he heard that you liked sarcasm, and now he's determined to outdo you.
Great.
He's determined to prove himself the superior sarcasm slinger.
It's the language of the angels.
Dr. Kildare, there's a good reference. Both
Dr.
Christina and
Kildare.
Flying Tigers. Dr. Kildare. Very good.
Dr. Kildare. That's awesome. Alaric says, my grandpa used to make home visits. When I visit his town, I always meet someone who says he was their doctor. One person even said he delivered her as a baby. See how cool that is? Like, that's awesome. We need that again. We need to make visiting docs great again.
Yep.
Someone put no, we don't want hologram doctors. We don't want hologram.
Oh my gosh. Now I want to write a sci-fi Western series where instead of Doc Holliday, it's Doc Hologram.
Doc Hologram.
I've said that it's my idea has been recorded on here with the date now. So if anyone steals this idea, I'll know you stole it from me. I'm gonna have a character that's Doc Holliday, but instead it's Doc Hologram in this sci-fi Western series.
How come nobody mentioned the Doc from Love Boat? Not one of us have mentioned the Doc from Love Boat. Why is that? That seems like a tragedy.
I think probably everyone forgot Love Boat.
Poor Love Boat. What happened? Somebody did mention the doc in was the Gunsmoke doc. Who's Marcus Welby? Doc Holliday. Not the doc where this is not the doctor you're looking for. Doc Holliday. Was Doc Holliday really a doctor?
I mean, he spoke Latin.
Must be true then. What was it? Who was the Gunsmoke doctor? Doctor. I saw somebody post it a second ago. Now I can't find it.
That was Robert Young. Marcus Welby, MD, was played by Robert Young.
Is the Welby the Doc Holliday doc?
No, Marcus Welby, MD, was a TV series.
Oh, it was its own series.
From 69 to 76, starring Robert Young. James Brolin played his partner.
What about Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman? Who remembers that? Man, oh man. Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. Yikes. It's kind of like going back to the Lila Rose scandal that we've been dealing with.
Chesty, I hope you're talking about the old show and not the terrible Will Smith movie.
Your argument is somewhat accurate, says Dr. Bob. Well, thanks for being on the team today, Dr. Bob. I'm glad we're going to get you to chime in on this, as I'm an independent and practice in a small converted house. Some people trust the building and not the doctor. Okay, hold on. Let me ask a follow-up question so I understand what that means. Do you mean to say that your converted house, which is interesting because we have not even just 5-10 minutes from here, there's the whole strip of this, these old houses that were all converted into businesses. For one of them was where we delivered two of our last two children were delivered there. So there's all these old houses. They were bought by businesses and converted into offices and various businesses of types. So do you mean to suggest that your converted house has less credibility than, say, a hospital or a doctor's office traditionally? Or do you mean to say the opposite? I'm very curious about that. Arleon, good morning to you. Doc Adams is Gunsmoke. Thanks. That's kind of what I was looking for.
Galen
Doc
Adams.
Galen, I see. I can't remember these things. I'm too old.
Jeff
Patrick Mason.
Jeff Horn's asking who remembers Trapper John M.D. Wasn't that the spinoff of MASH? I think that was the spinoff of MASH.
Trapper John M.D.
Clayton Lee is, of course, reminding us of the best TV doctor, which was Bones, Dr. McCoy on Star Trek.
That's right. I'm going to put MASH.
I'm a doctor, not a bricklayer, Jim.
Jim. Oh, man. God rest his soul.
Are you out of your Vulcan mind?
That was pretty edgy. Star Trek was a very edgy show.
That was a great line, yeah. It was.
So edgy.
What's his name? Gene Roddenberry was such a weirdo. But some
he was
good,
an atheist.
Some great classic sci-fi writers worked
he was
on
an
those
atheist.
episodes. Yeah.
Did I think I've shared this story in the past, but you know how he was able to get Star Trek filmed? He was a police officer in Los Angeles. He was a bike cop. He drove his motorcycle into the restaurant where the producers were having lunch, right up to their table, and then handed him a script. That's how it all happened. Guy's crazy, man. Marcus Welby was Robert Young. Okay, hold on. What about the building, though? What about the building? Because now some people see the outside of my converted house office and decide to drive away because it's not a medical building. I got it.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's sad,
people trust the the whitewashed walls and the beeping machines and the scent of horrible chemicals that'll kill you even faster than whatever you've got is.
He says, when I was at the University of Michigan, people would fly in from Europe to see me. Wow. That's sad, isn't it? So the functional doctor that I'm seeing, his office is in just a generic office building. So it still feels like a medical office. Like it still feels like your standard traditional medical office. Maybe that's part of the reason why he chose to go where he went. But I would imagine that your little converted house into an office is comfortable and more interesting. Right? I mean, our dentist, who is now a deacon, and he is part of the Anglican Ordinariate. He took one of these converted homes, and he sort of renovated it into his office. It looks very traditional. And I think it probably fits better. It's probably easier for a dentist, I guess is what I'm saying. I bet it's a lot easier for a dentist to get away with that than a medical doctor. We probably give dentists a lot more leeway on stuff like that. But it makes me sad. What Lila Rose scandal? Well, it's not a scandal. It's not really a scandal. I overspoke on that one. It's really more just of it's a kerfuffle. It's an online debate. She had a video that went viral.
It's drama.
And it ruffled the feathers of Trad Inc., which, by the way, I've been missing all the Trad Inc. meetings. I mean, like, when Jake goes to, I think Jake's the vice president of Trad Inc. personally. He just doesn't tell me.
Man, I wish my wallet reflected that fact.
I haven't paid the dues, and I haven't been showing up to the meetings, and I think I stopped even getting the emails. Like, they don't even send me the emails anymore, so I'm just feeling very left out.
I'm a little dissatisfied because they won't even let me wear like the giant buffalo hat with the little horns. I'm a little disappointed.
I could just see you sitting at a meeting with your buffalo hat, with your horns, with a glass of scotch or something, and a cigar or a pipe or something.
I'm the grand poobah of Trad Inc.
That's right. We need to call this meeting into session. I could just see you there with your gavel.
That'd be great. Yeah. The grand poobah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, anyway, there was a little kerfuffle over her latest viral clip, and a lot of Catholics got upset because not necessarily about what she said, is that she was saying it, I think was the big issue. I think the issue I had mostly with the video clip was just of the inclusion of Father Mike Schmitz. I feel bad for the guy.
Yeah, there were like multiple
he's a very
camps
handsome,
of who was
good-looking guy.
more angry about what.
I don't think we need to, like, it's just the fact that we're talking about how Father Mike Schmitz probably gets, googly-eyed from young ladies all the time.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to say that out loud, right? Like, poor guy. You know what I mean? Like, I can obviously relate. I mean, clearly, I could totally relate to that, but we don't need to talk about it out loud. It just seemed a little weird and awkward. But I think a lot of people are just using the opportunity to say, is it appropriate for women to be having those types of conversations, especially married women? Is it appropriate for married women to have those conversations online? I think that was the biggest part of the conversation.
Yeah.
So not a scandal, just a kerfuffle. Rabbit season, says Alberto, changing the subject. Is it rabbit season?
Well, it was Dr. Bob that said duck season first, and I'm wondering where that came from. Maybe it's just because RLR said, "What's up, Doc?"
What's up, Doc?
We're trailing back the steps of this conversation.
Hold on. Are we actually having a conversation? I'm not even sure what we're doing here.
I don't know.
Not so young, ladies, says William Jones. Dang, I was trying to be generous. not so young, ladies. Wow. William Jones, where's the charity? Where's the charity? Jane says, my dentist office is converted house, and I found him after moving here through church friends. I see my dentist at Mass. That's awesome. Yeah. And praise be to God. You have 2 pet rabbits. Never. My dad owned a pet rabbit once when I was a little boy. I just remember him getting very angry at that rabbit because it was eating his garden. I'm not sure what he expected, though. Seems like the expectation was wrong. Zena, good morning to you. She was saying it and enjoying it. He works out with the ladies in their yoga pants. Yeah, not cool. Mm-hmm. That's not cool. I as Holy Roman Emperor, I'm going to forbid yoga pants from existing on planet Earth. They're going to have to be burned. Like, that's going to be the requirement. All yoga pants brought to Town Square, burned.
Bonfire of the Vanities.
Bonfire of the Vanities.
Did we mention? Oh, Guaguenza was mentioning Quimby. Did we mention Dr. Quimby?
We didn't. Hold on.
Was that
Quimby? Who's Quimby?
Dr. Quimby. Hang on a second.
Isn't that the medicine woman thing?
No, there was. That's Dr. Quinn, medicine woman.
Okay. So who's Quimby?
Quimby. Why am I thinking of Dr. Quimby? Is that wrong? I looked up Dr. Quimby, and I'm not getting any results that I recognize. So I'm not sure what that was. So anyway.
Lori S. says, I feel like I like Father Mike Schmidt's sense of humor, but I'm also that way with Father Fabio. I can't, hold on. Why is my brain just shut off? It doesn't want to work. It's like, nope, you can't make me do it.
Oh, Quincy.
I'll start over.
It's Quincy. Dr. Quincy, M.E.
Isn't that the same thing as the medicine woman?
No, that's Dr. Quinn, medicine woman. Quincy, M.E.
Oh!
With Jack Klugman.
Quincy!
Jack Klugman.
Yes! I forgot all about that guy.
76
Dr.
to 83.
Dr. Quincy. Man, that was forever ago. Lori says, I like Father Schmidt's sense of humor, but I'm also that way with Fabio and David Lee Roth. I think they're all funny. David Lee Roth. Wasn't there a video of him singing in leather the other day on stage? What is he, like 98? He's like as old as my grandfather. What is he doing? Stop it. You're going to break a hip. It's unbelievable. Barbara, good morning to you. MB Slick, good morning to you. Quincy, I hadn't thought of Quincy in forever. Quincy, so passionate. What about see, now we're getting off subject though. Quincy's not like was Quincy? I haven't watched anything in a long time on Quincy. Was he like a visit home kind of a doctor? Or was he like a hospital doctor? He was a hospital doctor, wasn't he?
Let me look that up. Quincy, M.E.
Because now we're getting off. We're really, we want to get back to trad days where the doctor shows up with his black bag.
Oh, he was a M.E. He was a medical examiner. There you go.
He was
police investigations and stuff. Yep.
Oh, well, that's not quite the
same.
Oh,
okay. That's where it is. It was originally part of the NBC Sunday Mystery Movie. the rotation.
All of his
with,
patients
with
were dead, right?
Columbo, McLeod, and McMillan. It was those four.
Quincy
right.
had the most expensive rug in the business at the time. That's not the same, though. He doesn't visit you at home. You're dead.
Exactly.
All of his
He might still be visiting you at home, but it's not going to do you much good.
It's not going to do you any good. Medical examiner. Come now. Marie, good morning. Judy, good morning. Thanks for hanging out with us. Stephen Cornett, good morning to you. Yeah, so wrong kind of a doc. This all started when Nicholas Cavazos decided to ask Jake his opinion on insurance. Now we've devolved to
blame it all on Nick.
Medical examiners. We've just really fallen very far here. John B says, guilty as charged wearing yoga pants on flights. My bad. I need comfort.
Baggy pants are more comfortable than tight pants. This is
okay.
Absolutely 100%
Hold
true.
on. Back up. Start over. Wait a second. Time out. John B said, guilty as charged wearing yoga pants on flights. My bad. I need comfort. John, are you a male? Are you a female? Like, what are you? And why, if you're a male, why in the world are you wearing yoga pants? That's even worse. Like, that's even worse. Don't do that. Like, it's bad enough when the ladies do it. It's worse when a man does it. Like, stop it. Although I have to say, I went on that whole Billy Blanks thing. It's Billy Blanks, right? the Tybo guy.
Billy Blanks.
I looked at
Gosh, that's a reference.
I looked at his YouTube channel the other day because someone mentioned it, and I'm like, oh, these people, they need to put clothes on. I had to click out of it. I couldn't deal with it. Like, put clothes on. Wear clothes. Clothes. Wear the clothes. Why are men wearing yoga pants? This is my question, Alberto. This is exactly what I want to know. Why in the world would a man wear yoga pants? Don't do it. Dr. Bob says, I used a tool bag with Hercules embroidered on it.
Nice.
Doc Who? Doc Who doesn't count. Not a doctor.
He's literally called the Doctor, isn't he?
He's not a doctor. What is, like, was he, like, the character, was he like a scientist of some kind or something?
Well, he's a, what is it called? He's a Time Lord. I think he just likes being called a doctor. I don't know. Maybe he was a professor.
So I can identify as a doctor.
Maybe he had a PhD. Why was he called the Doctor? I'm sure Sci-Fi Mike can tell us this. Sci-Fi Mike, why is the Doctor Who called a doctor? I'm not going to go looking back through 15,000 seasons of British TV going back to like 1845.
Just use AI to tell you.
I refuse to use AI to tell me anything. I saw a study on what it does to people's brains. I'm like, I'm not even going to bother. It literally has.
I'm going to ask.
Using ChatGPT.
I'm going to ask AI to tell me what the results of studies are about using AI on the brain.
Using ChatGPT, like, apparently almost instantaneously starts to slow down your brain. It starts to kill your brain.
Lost Creole, good morning to you. Multicultural chat on the ACT. Look at that. Isn't that something? Alaric says, my wife said Lila Rose had a podcast wherein it was said that women get into gossip and things partially because they are geared to concern themselves with the whole person. Well, that sounds special, doesn't it? You should light a candle. Just light a candle. Just light a candle.
Put a candle
very special.
in the window.
Alaric also says, and therefore they have to be more careful discussing topics because of the way their psychology is geared. Well, yeah, that's true. And there's a fine line, right? I mean, I would argue that I've had many conversations on my program where I probably have jumped the line, from like actual concern conversation to become aware of something happening, a scandal, to gossip. I haven't gotten that right every time. So I can appreciate the difficulty of the task. But I think there's an extra, I do believe when it comes to ladies, there's an extra cause for concern. Bob Newhart was the psychologist in the first show, in first show in the 70s. He kind of removed the role in the famous Stop It skit on SNL. I don't remember that Stop It skit. Bob Newhart. That show was around for a very long time. Who remembers Bob Newhart? Man, like, isn't it crazy that all those shows have kind of gone off into the ether? Or is it just me because I don't have television? I don't like see any reruns on old channels or anything.
Yeah, there are a couple old channels that do reruns, but yeah, I mean, the nature of media. Things just disappear unless they've got a real cult following, you know?
Is there anything from your childhood that's sort of in that same category that was on that was like well known, but now you like?
I mean, I
never
grew up.
think about it.
The thing is, I grew up without cable. We had no cable. The couple modern quote unquote things that I watched growing up were like a couple of kids shows, and you know a few movies here and there that slipped through the cracks of not watching anything after 1970. You know, we saw like Star Wars and The Princess Bride and a couple other things.
Sure.
Almost everything else was old movies.
You were probably into
as we
Power
phrased it.
Rangers, I imagine.
Never saw Power Rangers.
Come on now.
I didn't watch. I tell you, I didn't see anything current as far as TV goes. You know, like our big thing to watch when we visited someone who had cable or whatever was like, oh, can we watch Good Eats on the Food Network? Because we loved Elton Brown.
I like Good Eats.
Me too.
I
love Good
like
Eats.
that show.
I know. We loved it too, and so that was the treat. Was like, oh, we could
Unfortunately,
watch.
that dude is a wild
He's
atheist.
a weirdo now. Yeah.
He's a weirdo,
yeah.
but the show was so well done.
Yes, the original Good Eats is great, and it's just like we would watch that, we can watch Animal Planet or something like that, you know. So we really didn't watch anything current until I was older, and then I got into catching up on this backlog of movies I hadn't seen, you know, from the 70s, 80s, 90s. Became a big movie geek in that way, but it's part of the reason I'm a movie nerd is because I started on classic
The
films,
old stuff.
you know,
Classics.
really, really good stuff.
He had a classical education. We could
There
say.
you go. Yeah, exactly. From
sense.
a modern point of view, that's a classical education.
Makes sense. Good Eats, man.
Yeah,
That's so good.
but that's the thing. So I didn't really watch anything current. Everything I know, even from my childhood era, was learned after the fact, as opposed to growing up with it, because we were a little, you know, isolated from the pop culture in that way. So
I grew up on Gilligan's Island, Phoebe.
There you go.
Me. Gilligan's Island.
A lot of those
Bunch.
we would watch
All of
old shows as well. Beverly Hillbillies,
Sure.
Andy Griffith Show.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
that sort of thing. So Star Trek. My dad did show us original Star Trek. He got. I think it was like a bootleg from Korea.
Really?
It had like Korean subtitles on it or something. I think it was a
Interesting.
bootleg full set
That's
on
hilarious.
DVD. But we watched classic Star Trek. So there's pictures of me and my two little sisters kind of playing Star Trek in the living room while we watched Star Trek. So the TV would be the view screen, and we'd be like sitting up, kind of, you know, spaced out like the command center. It was fun.
Yeah. Boy, oh boy, my dad recorded every single episode of the original Star Trek on cassette tape and would listen to those episodes in the car over and over and over again.
My dad had a lot of VHS tapes that my grandpa had recorded, like all of the Jeremy Brett, Sherlock Holmes recorded onto VHS, a bunch of old films and other things that recorded off of TV.
Back in the day. My dad, he got big into his VHS collection as well. And he actually had he had like an index of all the films, all the television, whatever he had on VHS in his library. He had a 3-ring binder that would tell you what he had available and where you could find it on the shelf.
Nice. See,
Yeah.
that's my kind of thing. I've got an Excel spreadsheet for all of my pipe tobacco and all of my pipes that I keep
You have
meticulously
so much
updated.
that you have to have a spreadsheet to cover it.
I don't have to have a
Okay.
spreadsheet. I just like having it. I want
Some
it all
might
documented.
Call that excessive.
I want it all documented and dated.
Addictive.
And well, the thing is that these are investments. This is like having a well-stocked wine cellar. Like the tobacco gets better as it ages. So when I want to resell any of it, because I'm like, you know what, might not ever get around to smoking this, so let me resell it, and I can resell it on tinbids.com, and probably get as much, if not more, than I paid for it.
My wine cellar consists of 1 bottle of unopened wine from my 2019 film premiere of my documentary.
Nice.
And it will sit there until I'm dead. Then my kids will probably drink it or throw it away.
You can drink it at your wake, and not before.
I could. That's true. Michael, good morning to you, says Joe. Is there a future for Catholic films, TV shows, and literature in general, especially considering how often panned and nerf they are? Is that like like what is that? You're gonna have to explain that to me.
Where's this comment? I need to. Oh,
this is YouTube's panned and nerfed. They are by movie critics and audiences. What does that mean? Panned and nerfed.
The critics often pan Catholic films, and most of the time it's kind of justified because they're kind of amateur.
Ouch!
And if they're not nerfed by the critics and the audiences, I don't think that's a good use of the word. But they are nerfed by low budget and by lack of superior talent. I'm going to say that.
Wow.
Like,
why did you look at me when you said that?
It's just a trick of the camera, Joe.
What are you doing?
Just a trick of the camera.
Wow. You saw that, right? Like, just because I'm going to be portraying St. Hilarion in a film, I have to go film it in less than a month now. Why are you like...
Well, see, the thing is...
Wow. That was really...
Joe, I'm going to give you a crash course in slang here.
Yeah.
I'm talking about low talent kind of nerfing the quality of these films. But by you finally bringing your acting talent, you're finally bringing your acting talent to the rescue, and you are going to give them a buff.
That's what it is.
That's what it is.
That's what it is.
It's either it's nerfed is brought down, buffed is brought up. These are video game terms that you now know. Nerfed and buffed.
Yeah. By the way,
although you can have a debuff.
Getting excited. You can debuff?
Yes, which is similar to being nerfed. If something is debuffed, that's similar to being nerfed, but it has a different origin. Okay. Because
I'm going to pretend like I got
this is based on video game effects where you activate an effect and it either gives you a buff, as in it improves certain stats, or it can bring debuffs, like it can debuff your enemies so it can decrease their stats.
Okay.
So, but that's different from being nerfed. People use buffed also as the opposite of nerfed. So now everyone knows. And for sure, these definitions.
Somewhere. I don't have a pen. Okay. Well, here's the good news, Michael. As Holy Roman Emperor, I'm going to do one of two things. One, I'm going to outlaw gaming so we can get rid of terms like panned and nerfed and buffed and all the rest and just be done with it.
Panned is not a video game term.
And, well, you just said it was like video gaming.
No, buffed and nerfed are panned. People talk about the critics panning something all the time.
We're going to go scorched earth on all of that. We're just going to like
critics
go back
panning
to language.
Things goes back to probably the 40s.
Literature and Latin language. We're gonna make language. We're gonna make language great again, as the great Donald Trump would say.
Like when I was saying earlier, the audience panned my performance. That's an old phrase. That predates video games.
How old is it? It's not old enough. Okay, it needs to go way back. We're trash.
All post 1940 slang will be outlawed.
Yeah, so that's the problem. It's like that's a post conciliar term you just gave. So, okay,
yeah,
that's
critics never panned anything in 1938.
They never, ever. Anyway, the other thing is, I this is something I would definitely. This is an area in which I want to see Catholics lean heavy into. I want to see them plow hard into entertainment, because it's not just about catechesis, apologetics, formation. The culture is more than that, right? Catholic culture, wholesome Catholic culture, is way more than just intellectual knowledge. It's also entertainment. It's also other things. And I feel like there's not enough effort, which is why I'm supporting this group of young Catholic filmmakers in Idaho. It's not because they're as great as Scorsese or Mel Gibson, or, they're not like their acting isn't going to be as amazing as, I don't know. You name your favorite actor, right? Denzel Washington's probably my favorite actor. Yeah, it's not at that level yet. But how do you get to that level unless you start here? And they have the desire, the will, the drive to push in that direction, to push themselves out of their comfort zone to try to achieve that next level. I reward that. And there's too few people, I would say, in the Catholic Inc. world, because I get accused of being Catholic Inc. all the time. Too few people in the Catholic Inc. world who are willing to look foolish while they figure something out so they can get to that next greater phase. We should be willing to learn, fail, iterate, our way up to success, and push hard. And there needs to be patrons who will support that cause, people who will put money into the cause. If I had George Soros' money, I would absolutely make film, television, episodic series. I would put money behind music, literature, all of it. because that's what helps build culture. And if we can find ways, and then the other thing I would do with my money, if I had it, which I don't, but if I had it, is I would not only be the patrons of all of those arts, but I would also be the wizard behind the curtain that sort of creates an infrastructure in which those people in those arts can collaborate with each other to help understand what works and what doesn't work, so that we can create an infrastructure through which new talent, new people coming into this can then achieve success and growth. Because we need people who can focus primarily all their efforts onto making great film, great entertainment. Where is the comedy in the Catholic sphere? Right? Like, we need great comedians telling great funny jokes that make us laugh without insulting us, without degrading us, without devolving, or what should I say, nerf us down to the level of vulgarities. Like, where's the talent that can make us laugh without all of the nonsense? You know, when I think of Catholic comedians, someone's probably chiming in right now going, Joe, what about that guy from New York? The one that curses and acts and talks and carries himself like a secularist? Yeah, no, sorry, he don't count. But he's Catholic. He's got 100,000 kids. And he hangs out with a bunch of crazy libtards that all think and act like that. No, sorry, doesn't count. Not what I'm talking about. Not what I want to invest in. We need to invest in good, wholesome Catholic culture, but we need to push to get them at a higher level. How do we get there? By forcing ourselves to try and fail and try again. And to reward those that are willing to go through that process, and to help them achieve that. And that's exactly why I feel like this is why I'm not going to trim my beard until I get back from Idaho. I'm not going to cut my hair until I get back from Idaho. My wife this morning was like, you need to trim that beard. I'm like, nope, not going to do it. I'm in character. I'm going full on. What's your favorite method actor's name?
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Now all of a sudden I've got the song in my head from Hawkeye. I watched part of that the other day. Man, you know what my favorite scene is of that? When he's at the fort, William McHenry, and he meets the daughter of the Scotsman, and he's walking away, and then he stops and just turns back and looks at her. She's like, what are you looking at? You. It's just like, right. So, and he doesn't even doesn't crack a smile.
Yeah,
just total Daniel Day-Lewis, man, and crushes.
My only problem with that film, aside from the fact that it should have been like a 3-hour epic, and the producers kind of made him keep it down to like a 2-hour action movie. It would have been better as a 3-hour epic, I think. But the problem is that, as much as I love Michael Mann, he went back in and like edited it for DVD and Blu-ray release and took out a couple of the corny 90s one-liners, which are part of the awesomeness of it. So I'm upset at him. I had to go track down the theatrical release on VHS from like Thailand, on DVD from like Thailand or something, just to be able to have it. So put the original theatrical edition on Blu-ray. I hate this George Lucas garbage of like, oh, I changed it. I'm the director. I'm going to change it from the original, and then that's the only version you can get now because no, give us the theatrical edition. I want the theatrical versions. Anyway,
yeah,
great movie.
Well,
one of my favorite movies.
Directors are like that. It's their little baby, right?
Directors.
They don't know when to walk away.
This is why I want to be a producer, so I can smack these people around and keep them in line.
Yeah, that's kind of my thing too. Is I'd almost rather be the executive producer, the guy who cuts the big check. I mean, there's more power in that than being the director, right? I want to walk on to the set and go, Mel, yeah, get over here. I don't care that you're busy. Put the cigarette down. Put the whiskey down and get over here, Mel. Listen. We're gonna do this better, okay? I need you. Focus, Mel. Focus. Hernan Cortez is a saint, Mel. He needs to look like a saint on film. All right. Okay, Antonio, get up. Stop being lazy. I know you're old, Antonio, but you need to do your job. You're playing Hernan Cortez, the greatest saint in the last 500 years. All right, focus. All right, go do your jobs.
We got
walk off.
We got David Joe Selznick over here.
That's it. Like the executive producer gets to run the show. That's what I want. That's what I want to be. The wizard behind the curtain. And let Mel like do all the press junkets and be like, yeah, this was great. It's my favorite of all my films. I love this film. It's the greatest of films. It's the film I wanted to make, but couldn't make. But now I've made it. Praise be to God. Could you imagine? Saint Hernan Cortez. That'd be the name of the movie, too. Saint Hernan Cortez. And the subtitle would be Ora pro nobis. It would drive the whole world absolutely mad. You would hear, just like that prophet said in A New Hope, it was like a million voices all screaming out at once, and then nothing. Was that Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Do you think they would actually cease? I think it would keep going on. I think they would not stop yelling.
Yeah, well, the world would explode out of absolute rage. So
see, the thing is, I don't want to see that movie. I want to see that miniseries. I want it to be. I want it to be. I want it to be a
miniseries. Everything is a miniseries now, though.
Well, the problem is that they keep them going on. I want it to be a contained story that's stretched out into like one 8-hour, 8-episode.
But everything is that
series.
way now.
No, not everything.
Everything is released in episodes.
Well, sometimes you have a long story that needs that length of time to stretch out.
Oh, could you imagine? Michael says the president of Mexico will be seeing if such a film came out. They would never allow it. Are you kidding me? They would never allow it. It would be absolute. But if I was George Soros and I had his kind of money, I wouldn't care because I would simply pay for the distribution to happen despite it all. That's the problem. There is no George Soros on
We have
our
no
team.
patrons. There's no patronage of.
There's no patronage
anything.
of evangelical, of Catholic evangelism inspired through the arts in a way that it had been back, 400, 500, 600 years ago. The ship has sailed. Can we ever get it back? I don't know. I'm not so sure. There's no George Soros on our team. So it is what it is. Praise be to God. Good morning to you, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us. We are not here tomorrow morning. It is the Feast of the Assumption, so we will be at Holy Mass. I pray that you go to Mass because it's a holy day of obligation. But we will be back here live on Monday morning. Our good friend Rob Morrow Jr. is going to be on to talk about the Vatican financial scandal. That ought to be fun.